Imagine a single object, an ancient relic so potent that its owner is believed to be invincible, destined for world domination. Now imagine one of history's most notorious dictators, a man consumed by occult beliefs, seizing this very artifact. What if I told you that just 2 hours after this relic was torn from his grasp by American forces, that dictator took his own life? This isn't a fantasy novel. This is the chilling, almost unbelievable story of Adolf Hitler and his desperate, lifelong obsession with the Spear of Destiny. For centuries, legends have whispered about the Holy Lance, the very spear said to have pierced the side of Christ on the cross. It's an artifact steeped in myth, believed to bestow upon its possessor unimaginable power, invincibility in battle, unparalleled success, and the ultimate prize, absolute world domination. Emperors, kings, and conquerors throughout history have sought it, their lives forever intertwined with its fabled might. But none were more consumed by its promise than Adolf Hitler, a man whose dark vision for the Third Reich was fueled not just by political ambition, but by a twisted faith in mysticism and ancient relics. He truly believed this spear was the key to his destiny, the ultimate charm that would guarantee his 1,000-year Reich. This video will take you on a journey through one of the most incredible, almost supernatural chapters of World War II. We will trace the spear's path from its quiet resting place to Hitler's grasping hands, explore its alleged influence on his early, terrifying successes, delve into the desperate Allied hunt to reclaim it, and finally, witness the dramatic circumstances of its recovery, a moment that eerily coincided with Hitler's final desperate act. Stay with us, because what you're about to uncover might just rewrite your understanding of history. Act Y, the seizure of power and prophecy. The year was 1938. Europe held its breath, teetering on the precipice of war. On March 12th, Adolf Hitler, with a terrifying display of military might, annexed Austria into Nazi Germany, an event chillingly known as the Anschluss. Tanks rolled, crowds cheered, and the world watched in stunned silence. But while the political strategists and military minds focused on territorial expansion, Hitler himself had a far more personal, far more mystical objective in mind. His gaze wasn't just on Vienna. It was fixed on a single, priceless artifact hidden within the ancient walls of the Hofburg Palace, specifically in the imperial treasury, the Weltliche Schatzkammer. He wasn't just conquering a nation, he was claiming his destiny. This was no mere cultural treasure hunt. For Hitler, the Spear of Destiny was more than just a relic. It was a tangible link to ancient power, a validation of his self-proclaimed messianic role. He had studied its history, devoured every legend, and convinced himself that possessing it would unlock an unstoppable force, guaranteeing victory for his empire. Its symbolic power was immense, not just a tool of conquest, but a divine endorsement of his brutal regime. The moment the spear was secured and transported back to Germany, Hitler felt an almost palpable surge of confidence, a confirmation that fate was indeed on his side, and for a time, it seemed he was right. The years that followed the spear's acquisition saw the Third Reich achieve a string of breathtaking, almost impossible victories. From the annexation of the Sudetenland to the lightning-fast invasion of Poland, from the swift fall of France to the relentless bombing of Britain, Hitler's armies seemed invincible. He defied expectations, shattered alliances, and redrew the map of Europe with terrifying efficiency. Was it brilliant strategy? Or was it, as Hitler fervently believed, the mystical power of the Spear of Destiny guiding his hand, shielding his forces, and granting him an unstoppable momentum? The world watched in horror as his power grew, and for Hitler each victory only deepened his conviction that the Holy Lance was his personal talisman, his key to absolute dominion. Act 2. The invincibility fades. As the war raged on, Hitler's early, almost supernatural luck began to curdle. The initial years, from 1939 to 1941, had indeed seen the Axis powers sweep across Europe with a terrifying, seemingly unstoppable force. The world held its breath, wondering if Germany truly possessed some unholy advantage. Hitler, ensconced in his bunkers, clutching the belief in the spear's protective power, saw every triumph as further proof of its efficacy. He was the chosen one, wielding the very instrument of Christ's suffering, and therefore untouchable. But history, unlike legend, has a way of turning against even the most deluded. By late 1942, the tide began to shift. The brutal Russian winter and the fierce Soviet resistance at Stalingrad shattered the myth of the Wehrmacht's invincibility. The Allied landings in North Africa and then Italy opened new fronts, stretching German resources thin. The strategic bombing campaigns intensified, raining destruction upon German cities and industries. As the losses mounted and the dream of a swift victory evaporated, Hitler's paranoia, already legendary, reached new heights. His reliance on occult beliefs, and specifically the spear's supposed power, became even more desperate. He clung to the artifact, now housed in the heavily fortified city of Nuremberg, as a drowning man clings to a spar. The spear was moved, hidden, and guarded with fanatical devotion, along with countless other priceless art and treasures looted from across Europe. As Allied forces pushed relentlessly closer, and the thunder of strategic bombers became a constant, terrifying soundtrack, the spear was relocated to a secret, bomb-proof vault deep beneath Nuremberg Castle. It was a desperate attempt to shield his invincibility charm from the encroaching storm, a last-ditch effort to preserve the mystical power he believed was all that stood between him and total annihilation. He had to protect it, for if the spear fell, he believed, so too would he. But even as Hitler clung to his desperate belief, convinced his mystical charm would protect him, another force was meticulously, painstakingly closing in. While the Führer orchestrated the hiding of priceless artifacts, a unique and determined group of Allied soldiers, mostly Americans, was fighting not just to defeat Nazism on the battlefield, but to salvage the very soul of civilization. These were the Monuments Men, art historians, curators, and architects who traded their quiet lives for the chaos of war, tasked with an impossible mission: to locate and recover the vast artistic and cultural treasures looted by the Third Reich. Their mission was monumental, a frantic race against time and destruction. Millions of pieces of art, historical documents, and sacred relics had vanished into Nazi caches, hidden in salt mines, castles, and underground bunkers across a crumbling empire. For the Monuments Men, every recovered masterpiece was a victory, a piece of humanity's shared heritage snatched back from the abyss. But among the countless treasures, the Spear of Destiny held a unique, almost terrifying significance. Its recovery wasn't just about cultural preservation, it was about denying the enemy a potent psychological weapon, a symbol of their twisted ideology that, in Hitler's mind, granted him divine right to conquer. Imagine the morale boost for the Allied troops, the psychological blow to the remaining Nazi loyalists, if such a fabled artifact, central to Hitler's personal mythology, could be reclaimed. The intelligence gathering was relentless. Interrogations of captured German officers, sifting through mountains of documents, following whispers and rumors through war-torn villages. The search was a sprawling, continent-wide scavenger hunt, each clue a fragment in a colossal, deadly puzzle. As the Allied armies surged deeper into Germany in early 1945, the focus narrowed, drawing closer to the heart of the Third Reich's power. Nuremberg, a city steeped in Nazi propaganda, the very site of their infamous rallies, became a key target. It was here, beneath the ruins of a once proud city, that the trail of the Holy Lance grew warmer, leading the Monuments Men deeper into the rubble and shadows. The city was a labyrinth of destruction, bombed-out buildings, and hidden dangers. But the Monuments Men persisted, guided by a combination of meticulous planning and sheer, unadulterated grit. Their search eventually led them to a massive reinforced air raid shelter, a secret vault buried deep beneath the ancient foundations of Nuremberg Castle. This was not just any bunker, it was a fortress within a fortress, designed to withstand the heaviest Allied bombardments. Inside, among a trove of other stolen treasures, concealed behind layers of concrete and steel, they found it. The Spear of Destiny. The date was April 30th, 1945. The war in Europe was in its final agonizing throes. American forces, specifically members of the U.S. Third Army, meticulously entered that underground vault. The air was thick with the dust of destruction, the silence broken only by their careful movements. And there it was, the legendary Holy Lance, now a symbol of Hitler's delusion, finally in Allied hands. The official documentation, a moment forever etched into history, records the Spear of Destiny being secured by American forces at approximately 2:10 p.m. that afternoon. Now, let's shift our focus, hundreds of miles away, to the shattered remains of Berlin. Deep beneath the Reich Chancellery, in the suffocating confines of the Führerbunker, Adolf Hitler was a broken man. The 1,000-year Reich was in ashes. The Soviets were literally above ground, fighting street by street, closing in on his final sanctuary. His generals had deserted him, his grand plans lay in ruins, and his perceived invincibility had long since evaporated. He had spent his life believing in destiny, in the power of the spear to guide and protect him. He had convinced himself that as long as he possessed it, he could not be defeated. But now, his talisman was gone. At around 3:30 p.m. on that very same day, April 30th, 1945, just an hour and 20 minutes after American soldiers officially secured the Spear of Destiny in Nuremberg, Adolf Hitler placed a pistol to his head and pulled the trigger. His wife, Eva Braun, died by his side, having swallowed a cyanide capsule. The timing is so precise, so chillingly close, that it beggars belief. The artifact Hitler had stolen 7 years prior, the one he believed guaranteed his dominion, was ripped from his grasp, and barely an hour later, his life ended in a desperate, ignominious suicide. Was it merely a coincidence, a twist of fate in history's grand, chaotic narrative? Or did Hitler, in his final deluded moments, somehow feel the loss? Did the mystical connection he so fervently believed in snap, severing his will to live once his invincibility charm was gone? Picture the scene. The news of the spear's capture, even if not directly reaching his bunker, could have been part of the crushing weight of defeat that finally broke him. The psychological impact of losing the very object he believed was the source of his power could have been the final, unbearable blow to a man already teetering on the brink of madness. Historians debate the exact sequence of events and Hitler's state of mind, but the eerie proximity of these two moments, the spear's recovery and the dictator's demise, leaves an unsettling, almost supernatural question lingering in the air. Did the power of belief, or perhaps the lack thereof, truly seal his doom? After the dust settled on the battlefields of Europe, and the world slowly began its arduous task of rebuilding, the Spear of Destiny, now freed from the iron grip of the Third Reich, was handled with immense care. American forces, acutely aware of its historical significance and the strange hold it had exerted over Hitler, meticulously documented its recovery. Their mission was not just about military victory, but about the restoration of cultural heritage, returning priceless artifacts to their rightful homes. The Holy Lance was no exception. It was carefully repatriated to Austria, its ancestral home, a journey that symbolized the undoing of Hitler's conquest, both territorial and spiritual. Today, the Spear of Destiny rests once more within the hallowed halls of the Imperial Treasury at the Hofburg Palace in Vienna. It is not displayed as a weapon of war, but as an artifact of profound historical and cultural importance, encased in protective glass, observed by countless visitors from around the globe. Its incredible journey, from the hands of Roman centurions to Charlemagne, from the Holy Roman Emperors to the darkest dictator of the 20th century, and finally back to a place of quiet preservation, is a testament to its enduring, almost mythical allure. But does its power truly lie dormant? Or is its legend merely waiting for another figure, consumed by a dangerous sense of destiny, to attempt to claim it once more? The questions it raises echo through the centuries, refusing to be silenced. This chilling narrative, however, offers us more than just a historical account of a stolen relic. It forces us to confront the immense and often terrifying power of human belief itself. Whether you're a staunch skeptic who dismisses the supernatural entirely, or someone who believes in the unseen forces that subtly shape our world, the story of Hitler and the Spear of Destiny presents a profound psychological study. Hitler's early, almost miraculous successes, the swift annexations, the lightning-fast invasions, the seemingly unstoppable march across Europe were, in his deluded mind, direct affirmations of the spear's protective magic. He truly believed he was invincible as long as it was in his possession, that it was his divine key, his personal talisman, for guaranteed world domination. This wasn't mere superstition. It was the bedrock of his twisted ideology, a cornerstone of his personal mythology. And when that cornerstone was violently ripped away from him, when the very object he had imbued with his hopes, his dreams, and his dark destiny was lost, his entire psychological fortress crumbled. Imagine the weight of that news, or perhaps even an intuitive, primal feeling of its loss, reaching him in his suffocating bunker. For a man already facing total, utter defeat, his empire in ashes, his generals deserting him, the removal of his invincibility charm could have been the final, unbearable straw. His fervent belief in the spear, a belief so absolute it bordered on madness, became a self-fulfilling prophecy of his downfall. The moment the Americans secured the Holy Lance, Hitler's will to resist, his desperate clinging to a fabled destiny, may have simply evaporated, pushing him over the precipice into suicide. The Spear of Destiny remains one of history's most compelling and unsettling enigmas. Its journey through the ages, its association with the grandest figures of European history, and its uncanny, almost supernatural connection to Adolf Hitler continue to captivate and perplex historians, mythologists, and curious minds alike. Was it merely a bizarre, almost poetic twist of fate that Hitler met his ignominious end just an hour and 20 minutes after the spear was officially secured by American forces in Nuremberg? A cosmic irony, perhaps? Or did the ancient, fabled power of the Holy Lance, or at the very least the profound psychological power of believing in it, play a far more significant, albeit unquantifiable role in the final dramatic downfall of the Third Reich than any conventional history book might ever fully admit? We may never fully unravel the true extent of its influence, or definitively separate the cold, hard facts of history from the swirling whispers of legend. But the story of the Spear of Destiny compels us to consider the profound and often dangerous impact that objects, imbued with intense human belief and unchecked ambition, can have on the course of history. It leaves us to wonder about the unseen forces, the deep-seated convictions, and the strange, almost impossible coincidences that sometimes intertwine to shape the most pivotal and terrifying moments of our collective past. And perhaps it serves as a stark warning. Be careful what you believe in, for your beliefs might just become your reality, for better or for worse. So, what are your thoughts on this incredible, chilling tale? Do you believe in the mystical power of the Spear of Destiny? Or was it merely a psychological crutch for a madman in his final moments? Share your theories and insights in the comments below. If this journey into one of history's most captivating and unsettling mysteries sent shivers down your spine, make sure to hit that like button, share this video with fellow history buffs, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to ring that notification bell so you're always in the loop for our next deep dive into the extraordinary, the unexplained, and the truly unbelievable chapters of our world's history.